we doing, folks? My guest today is going to be legendary freestyle coach Jon O'Brien. And in this episode, we go through and discuss Jon's career. We talk about how Jon got his start in freestyle skiing as an athlete and eventually his turn into coaching. Jon has built one of the dominant and premier programs in the sport of freestyle mogul skiing in the US with Wasatch Freestyle. During Wasatch Freestyle's time, they've won Program of the Year 3 different times and had over 20 athletes named to the US Ski Team. Multiple World Championships medalists, Olympic medalists, and world champions have come through Wasatch Freestyle. It truly is an illustrious roster. Right now, currently, there are 7 members on the US Ski Team that have come through the Wasatch Freestyle program. And the head coach of the US Ski Team is also from the program. Last year alone, Wasatch Freestyle had 20 podiums at different F.I.S. events and had 6 kids named to the newly announced National Development Group for the US Ski Team. Jon also, during his career, was an assistant with the US team and was the head coach for Great Britain during the 2002 Winter Olympics. We discuss all those things, and it was really great to be able to have this conversation with Jon. He's helped mentor and guide so many different athletes throughout his career and his journey, including yours truly, and it was a lot of fun to be able to catch up and have this conversation. I really hope you folks enjoy. Thanks. Jon, Joe, thank you so much for coming in and getting to do this. It's a real honor for me to have you on, and I'm really excited for our conversation.
Well, it's great to be here, Bobby. I've really been enjoying your podcasts. I've seen quite a few of them, and they're so entertaining and informative, and so many of my friends have been on it. It's just great to be here with you today.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. It's really, I'm excited to learn a lot. I know that I will. I always do with you, and I'm excited to learn some. I know I have a good idea of some history, but to learn like a little bit more of kind of freestyle back in those days, and your kind of progression of how you got into the sport, and then coaching a little rugrat like me.
Well, I have to disagree with you there, Robert. Your knowledge of freestyle history is quite extensive, but I grew up in an interesting time. And didn't take up the sport till a little later. But the big influence on me, of course, as a young person, was my brother, Stu O'Brien. And Stu was a tremendously successful mogul skier. And he was part of that early movement in the 70s. He was on the PFA, the Professional Freestyle Tour. And he was on the Chevy Pro Tour. And he really influenced me earlier on. And he was one of the younger guys on the tour, so his older friends were, really the pioneers of the sport, and
right.
I had a lot of exposure to those guys as a young person. So I do have some experiences back in the pioneer days, but I was fortunate in my lifetime to live through a very influential time in the 90s. And worked closely with a friend of mine named Jeff Good, who was coach of the US Olympic Team in 92, 94, and 98, and really watched the transformation of the sport into an Olympic sport, and see such legitimacy come into the sport and so forth. It's been really exciting to watch this happen, and to be maybe a small part of it as well. And of course, you mentioned, yes, along the way, I did have the honor of coaching you and working with you closely now that you are a coach. So it's been an interesting journey.
It's been an excellent journey for me, and it's been you've been a huge influence on me. So this is fun. Hey folks, just wanted to take a quick second to say thank you for your time and attention listening to the show. Now back to the episode. Going back, like you talk about Stu being such a huge influence to you, and like how did he get kind of into the sport of freestyle? Like how did he find his way there back east?
He worked in a ski shop, and he got involved with the sport. Our grandparents lived in the Pocono Mountains of Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And we spent a lot of time with our grandparents growing up, and the little village they lived in had 2 little ski areas. And so my brother went from the ski shop to work in the ski areas, and then I learned how to ski and got to ski occasionally, and was able to meet a man at my summer job in the Poconos working on a lake, renting out canoes and sailboats. And the guy was the assistant director of the local ski school. And he said, you know, you should be a ski instructor. I said, well, that sounds like a great time. Only thing is, I really don't ski very well. I was a hockey player and I knew how to skate.
Right.
So fortunately, they somehow I made the ski school, and the other ski instructors and this assistant ski school director taught me how to ski. A lot of these ski instructors were from Europe and they knew how to ski, and so it was a great learning experience for me. And at the time, of course, freestyle skiing was such a big new influence in the sport. It was really cutting edge and revolutionary, and these guys were wearing colorful clothes and had, you know, long hairstyles, and they were just on, you know, so cool. They were on television. And so I even started ballet skiing at the ski area at night, and really, you know, getting into, was really charged by the sport, and started competing and so forth, and had a great time doing it. So much so that when I was a junior in high school, I had lettered in ice hockey my freshman and sophomore year of high school, and I quit the team to go pursue this dream of skiing. People were like, you're crazy, what are you doing? And I said, well, as soon as I graduate, I'm moving to this place called Utah. And they're like, wow, are you a Mormon? Well, no, I'm not, but I go into this place called Utah. And so as soon as I could, I checked out of the East Coast and checked into a place called Westminster College in Salt Lake City. It had given me kind of a deal to go to school there and everything. And so I started playing soccer for Westminster and got a job at Park West, which no longer exists, as a ski instructor, and sort of pursued this dream of skiing. But I was very motivated by it as a young person, and it was a really healthy thing for me to get involved with. And now I enjoy watching hockey on television or going to the occasional NHL game, but I really think I made the right decision. I think it's such a great sport, and it's a sport one can do for the rest of their life, you know?
Right.
I mean, my friend...
Cradle to grave.
Yeah, right? There you go.
Yeah.
Cradle to grave. I look at my friend Junior Banus, and Junior's 98 years old, and he's still skiing, and it's something that hopefully I can do for a little while longer.
I think so. I think you got plenty of days left in you. So was Stu part of the reason of coming out? Was he already in Utah at that point? Was that kind of his home base? Or did you make it out there? How did that go?
Yes, he was using Utah as his home base.
Okay.
And I had another brother, David, living here as well, who was a recreational skier. Mm-hmm. He's a contractor, carpenter. And I really, my brother Stu was very good, and he was, by that point, on the US team. And the pro tour was making a change into the F.I.S. and heading that direction. So he was on the cutting edge of moving the sport from the pro ranks into the F.I.S. ranks. And he voted to move this, as a member of the pro tour, mm-hmm. he voted to move the pro tour into backing the F.I.S. tour, and was one of the first F.I.S. U.S. team athletes to compete on the F.I.S. tour. So, of course, a great influence on me. He used Snowbird as his home base. So, mm-hmm. Definitely I was looking for a place where I could go to college and ski, and there's not too many places to do that.
Sure.
Also at that time, Snowbird was really the center of freestyle skiing in a lot of ways. A lot of the best athletes in freestyle skiing, a lot of the legendary names besides my brother Stu O'Brien, people like Bob Salerno, Robert Young, and so forth, were in Little Cottonwood Canyon training at Snowbird. And a lot of the movies that we watched and mm-hmm. the magazines that we read also featured Snowbird. And so that was a big draw for me. I was from such a little ski area, and people said, well, this kid will never be any good. He's, from this little flat place, and he can't ski the steep. Well, Snowbird was the steepest mountain I could find. So it's
right. Yeah. No.
It seemed like a good choice at the time.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as they make that trend, what's the transition? So back then, as you come out, you say the FIS is kind of that pro tour is forming into the FIS. So you have that tour, and then so FIS like World Cup. And what year is that? When is that like around? Is that late 70s, early 80s that it starts to kind of, because there was what, the Subaru
early
tour?
80s.
Early
Early
80s.
80s. Well, there was a number of pro tours
Right.
operating.
Yeah.
And one could ski the pro tour and, also do other events, FIS events. Most of the time, it was a little intricate. But it was a time when there were, at times, more than one pro mogul tour.
Yeah.
And we're definitely talking about the World Cup Pro Tour ended in 1980, and in 81 things started to really go to the FIS
Gotcha.
way of doing things, and we had national teams and so forth. And the thing that I'm really proud of my brother, one of the things I'm proud of my brother for, was he voted to have the people on the pro tour
go to
say, no, we're gonna back this FIS thing. We're not gonna try to run another tour, in competition to this. And many of the top athletes that were pros were given quote unquote amnesty and became quote unquote amateur athletes. Whatever you had to do to make the switch over, but it was a really integral time in our history, and that's sport's gone in a great direction. I think our sport was probably invented upside down, and we invented it with a pro tour and all these great superstars on the top.
Yeah.
And then we said, oh, well, maybe kids would like to try this, and maybe we should develop athletes to do this. So the sport was kind of invented upside down, if you will.
Yeah, no. Okay. All right. Because I always, it's having different people on and everything else, trying to have the understanding, because I know there's that Subaru tour, the other one, and talking with Park, other people, just trying to get an idea. Because mid 90s, early 2000s, there was always, obviously you had the World Cup tour, but then Bumps and Jumps was still kind of around and still kind of doing some stuff in there. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around all the back in those days, the different tours and everything kind of going on.
Well, the pro tour concept has always been a dual mogul concept,
right?
Which, as we know, is so exciting and has been so great for our sport of mogul skiing. So, at the time, you'd have pro tours being duals. Most of the World Cups, however, were mogul competitions, what we might say single mogul competitions, not duals. But the dual tours, you mentioned the Saab tour.
Yep.
That our friend Joey Cordeau won, and my brother Stu won the finals of that tour.
Okay.
And that was a viable one. Also here in Utah, my friend Al Johnson ran American Pro Skiing, and that was a dual tour that was primarily in Utah and surrounding states.
Okay.
And Al and his friend Mike ran that tour very successfully in the late 70s and through 85 anyway. And they did a great job with that and had a lot of great athletes. And one of the comments that Joey made was, if I was to go on the World Cup tour, I go here, I go there, and I have to wait for the ballet skiers, and I have to wait for the aerial skiers, and then I get to do a single mogul run. But for him, he liked the dual mogul format and the idea of we go to an event and we have the event and then we go on to the next event.
Right,
so
exactly. Kind of constantly.
So he thought that was better for him. Good for him. And other people, of course, pursued different avenues. But it would be great, as we've all talked about, to see some kind of concept of a pro tour returning to our sport.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Just for the exposure, and of course it's very exciting now that dual moguls is in the Olympics.
Yeah.
We're all looking forward to that, and I think that might have been a interesting time back when we were really trying to push ballet in our sport. That maybe we should have been trying to push dual moguls as well, but everything's 2020 in hindsight. So
yeah, right. Trying to figure out what's going to get in and not. So
absolutely.
So during that competitive career, you three-time Intermountain Division champ. You spend all this time going through skiing. At what point are you coaching while that's kind of going on, right? Because you've always loved to teach. I mean, you teach history at the winter school for several years. And at what point? Because I remember you would go coach skiing in the summer at Hintertux and other places and everything else. So kind of when did that transition to coaching kind of happen? Or was it as you were competing, making extra money, like might as well teach a little as well?
Well, that's an interesting question. My mom was a great influence in my life, and she was a single mother and a graduate of Columbia University with a degree in master's degree in education. And she really, was a master teacher. Mm-hmm. And I got into this ski instructing thing at a very early age when I was in high school. And so it just seemed like that was the direction I was taking. It was more my competitive career. Yeah, I did well regionally, as you mentioned, and I had a couple of good results with NORAMs and things like that. But
nationals,
nationals in
Waterville.
My competitive career certainly isn't worth discussing. But as far as educationally, I've always been really, really motivated by coaching. Really liked teaching. As you mentioned, I was a classroom teacher at the Winter Sports School for about 8-9 years. Ran the history department there at that time. And I've always been very, very motivated by educational pursuits. And what happened to me was I was at a regional event at an Intermountain Division, and I was riding up a chair, and I was in college, so I would have been about 21 years old or something like that.
Okay.
And I'm riding up the chairlift with this little Grom, and kid might have been, I don't know, 10 years old maybe, and some not even. And I'm talking to him and trying to be a nice guy, represent our sport well and so forth. And nice little kid, and we're talking, and he looked at me and said, "You're a ski instructor." And yeah, and my dad would really like to meet you. Okay, well, after we got off the lift, I went to the lodge and I met the kid's dad. And he said, "I've got my kid, and I've got another kid, and I've got these neighborhood kids, and we live in Park City, and you're an instructor at our local ski area, and you're the Intermountain champion, and you're a certified ski instructor, so could you ski with our kids?" And being a broke, starving college student, I was like, yeah, that sounds like a great opportunity for me. And so I started talking to this guy, and we got a little program together in Park City, and I really took it from there. And this man owned a company where he would take a big bus and he would take people from Salt Lake City to Nevada to gamble in his bus.
Yep.
And then they'd gamble and maybe they'd have a beverage or whatever and stumble back into the bus, and he'd bring them back to Utah. So I said, well, we've got this team together, and there's a little team in Telluride. And he goes, "I'll get the bus. We'll take a road trip." And next thing you know, I'm in this bus with 25 young athletes and their parents heading to Telluride, and we got this thing all off the ground and moving, going in a good direction. And I had to take the program down the street from Park City Mountain Resort at the time to a little place called Park West, because they allowed me to build an aerial site. And they were very supportive of reasonably supportive of my program.
Sure.
And we built it from there and had a great time. And I had a man working with me who started with me there at Park West named Rick Shaner. And Rick Shaner is still with me today. And that's 35 some odd years later, he's been coaching with me. So it's been great working with this guy. And my brother was working with me at that time, and Park West was a really impoverished little ski area. They made an announcement one October that they weren't going to open, and we were really lucky that due to our ski school connections, my friend Junior Banus gave us an opportunity at Snowbird to get something going over there.
Okay.
So we went over to Snowbird and expanded it, from there.
Yeah.
And then when we announced, there's an announcement about the Olympics, I went over to Deer Valley and fortunately, a great man over there named Bob Wheaton gave me an opportunity at Deer Valley to really make things happen there. And working with Deer Valley has really been one of the greatest experiences of my life. They're really great people over there, and they really run such a tremendous operation. It's been very, very motivational to me to work with people that just have such a standard of excellence. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, compared to say Park West,
right? Right. Yeah,
it's much different, And of course, the opportunity I got at Snowbird and what we've done there has been fantastic. So, yeah, we're working really hard, to make Wasatch Freestyle, which is the foundation that was born out of this effort to be a very strong organization that produces athletes that really, really excel at the international level and provides our community with programming for our young people that's constructive and provides a great place for those young people to go.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's couldn't recommend it enough. I spent enough time there. So going back when Wasatch really started, and you started the foundation, was what, 93? Ish?
Yes. In 93, it became apparent that we needed to go in this direction. Okay. And so in 94, I met with a tax attorney.
Yeah.
And we discussed this. This came after researching how other programs, not just freestyle programs, but other ski programs, be they racing or Nordic or whatever, how they operated around the country.
Yeah.
So I went to California and checked it out. I went to New England and checked it out. How do these companies operate?
Yeah.
And the common denominator is they're 501c3 nonprofits.
Yeah.
And this makes a lot of sense because then you can receive grants and donations to help run your operation.
Sure.
You of course, don't have federal tax, which is huge, and it allows people to donate to your foundation.
Yeah.
So it also alleviates the ski area operators are tremendously busy people with great responsibilities.
Yeah.
And so it alleviates that responsibility from the ski area operator. Mm-hmm. And they no longer have to deal with all of the intricacies of running a ski team and a ski program.
Yeah.
So it really works out well. So in 94, the Internal Revenue Service granted Wasatch Freestyle Foundation a 1-year probational status to operate. And after that year, our operation was reviewed by the service, and they then allowed us to have a nonprofit operation that we've been running since then. And so it's been a great experiment for me. I never went to college or imagined I'd be running a nonprofit. It's not something like
when you're in college,
trained for.
Right, exactly, sure. Yep.
And there's all these intricacies, and there's parts of it that I'm definitely better at.
Sure.
And I really like, of course, working with the athletes.
Yeah.
I really do. I'm really motivated to work with these young athletes that are really, really putting everything they have into it and giving so much of themselves to the sport that I love. And it's fantastic. But, then there's other phases of the operation that are more difficult for me to run. And I'm not as motivated to get involved with.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yes.
Yeah. And fortunately, at the moment, I have a young man working with me in administration named Nick Seaman, and Nick's been fantastic at keeping this thing going. And then, of course, my wife, Kristen Zetzer, has been running our weekend development program at Deer Valley and doing a lot of other things with the foundation that's been allowing us to keep our heads above the water. But it's always been quite the adventure.
Yeah, no, definitely. So who, like the first year you have kind of that programming, and first year Wasatch 94, 95, who were some of those names that were like the first? Because I remember Park West, right? That was like Sean Smith, Craig Rodman, Mick, Todd, like those guys back, right? Right.
Yeah.
Was that group of Groms kind of in that era?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. That was
Yeah.
that was like a more of an 80s thing, because that's when those guys would have been.
Because up to 92, right, you had Roddy, and then
guys.
Roddy again in 94 with Sean
so it would have
Smith,
been more
right?
of a
80s kind of.
Basically, when I first got started, those guys that you've just discussed, people like Craig Rodman, Sean Smith, others that have done really well, were in about third, fourth grade.
Gotcha.
And they started skiing with me on the weekends, and we started going to Intermountain events.
Right.
And
were they part of the bus going down to Telluride?
They were in that bus going to Telluride. They really were, and great group, and we really had a lot of fun. And we had like a couple of them go to the Olympics and really make a mark on the team.
Sure.
And also, at the time they were on the Olympic team, Jeff Good brought me in to assist him at his summer camps and at North American World Cups. So it allowed me to continue on with those athletes later on in their career. There was a brief time there, when I kind of in between when I did, and I was started things at Snowbird where I didn't see much of them, and they were really establishing themselves, and they'd done quite well. And I definitely was very, very blessed to have a group like that as a young coach. They were also a pretty rowdy group.
They were living the freestyle spirit.
They were living the freestyle spirit. That's right. So it was a great experience for me, and we had a great time as we moved on from Park City Mountain Resort to Park West, where we could then host events and have aerials. At that time, we were kind of a 3-event program with ballet, aerials, and
so you guys taught it all. You and Shana were teaching all the different disciplines.
Well, Rick would be quick to say that he never got in ballet, so he really concentrated more on the aerials, and that was left to me, which is ridiculous. I'm like a fire hydrant out there dancing around. Probably not the best ballet coach that ever happened, but I did get a lot of these guys started on it, and it's a great tool to use to teach young people how to ski. I mean, you learn where your edges are, you learn how to flip and twist. Right. It's some pretty valuable skills. So we had a fantastic lady here living locally named Jan Boer, who is a multi-time world ballet champion. And she actually came to Park West a couple days to help volunteer her time to help the athletes. And we had some of the Pro Tour athletes would come in and do a day or two of guest coaching over there at Park West. But it was a very bare bones operation. I remember one day I walked into the office and asked if I could use a shovel, and they kind of scratched their head because they didn't seem to have one. So
bare bones. Bare bones.
It also introduced me to a lot of great ski instructors were there at the time at Park West, like John Gay, who went on to be the ski school director of Deer Valley for many years. And he was a great source of information and a great business contact, for me, a great person to work with. So, those early days at Park West were really interesting. What they used to do was run school buses to local Utah rural communities, such as Vernal, Tooele, and so forth, and take the school children and put them on the bus and bring them in the afternoon to the ski area for their gym class. And then we'd all take about 10 kids and take them out skiing. And that was really kind of cool to teach these mainstream Utah kids from all over Utah how to ski. That was really fun. And you don't see that a lot in ski schools now. And ski schools now are more the auspices of the elite and wealthy. And it was kind of fun, in those days to work with all of the kids from all backgrounds. But yeah, I'd say the Park West experience was great, and we established a community in Utah of mogul skiers at that time. And you mentioned Sean and Craig, just a few of them, but we've had some other skiers go on from that program. Mark Moeller went to the national team, and Rachel Shockett went to the national team, and it was just a little itty bitty underfunded program. I mean, I think it probably cost about $500 for the year, including your season's pass. And so we really had a lot of traction there. But with Park West closing,
Right.
I moved everything over to Snowbird and,
Yeah.
and got some things going there,
Right.
which was a great place to be. And now as time evolves, we're
Right.
in
Where
a
we are now.
fantastic
Yeah.
place at
Yeah.
Deer Valley.
Right.
And we have had a wonderful relationship at Deer Valley for about 30 years. And we're so looking forward to hosting the games in 34. And we hope to have a lot of events on Champion between now and then, such as the Deer Valley NORAM and the Intermountain Regional Championships in March and so forth. So in addition to the World Cup,
Right.
there should be other opportunities there at Deer Valley for our skiers.
Yeah. No, definitely the Super Bowl of the World Cup Mogul Tour. Everybody, it's everybody's favorite stop. You know?
It really is,
It's
isn't it?
everybody's favorite
They
stop.
do
That's
such
for sure.
a great job with it.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
really is so much fun.
Yeah. No, it's
Yeah,
the
so
best. Everybody.
carnival-like atmosphere.
Yeah. No, it's
So
awesome.
many of my old friends come out to watch the event.
Yep.
That have gone on other things after their freestyle careers, and they kind of use that World Cup as a reunion point from all these. And even the like Wayne Wong, Uncle Wayne, Uncle Wayne is there, and all the way up through. So for me, it's just a fantastic event. And,
Right.
I was fortunate enough this year to have an athlete in finals, and I was working the starting gate, and that was a huge honor for me. And of course, I was able to work the starting gate at the Olympics in 2002 when I coached the British team. So I have some fond memories from Deer Valley and that run. But fortunately, they didn't install that run till way after I retired. But I really feel for those athletes. I mean, that is a tough run.
Yeah.
Boy,
I remember.
ooh.
I think the first, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but the first event I remember being on there was, I think, '99 Nationals when Cabral won. Like on that, I mean, they might have had earlier, but I remember Nationals being there, and then I think the year after that in January was like the first World Cup that they hosted on that, which I think Yanni won, Evan Divig I think was second, and PA I think finished third. I remember.
I'd have to look that up, but I do remember right after it was announced that we're hosting the Olympics in '96. That shortly after that, it was either December of '96 or January of '97, we had a test NORAM there, and we went on to host some very early World Cups and early events there on Champion.
Yeah.
And what a fantastic event it's become, and it's such a great community event, of course, for people that live in Utah, but.
Yeah.
Internationally, I mean, people are watching it all over the world and just loving it. And as you mentioned, being an international World Cup coach, everyone on tour loves going there, right?
Oh, absolutely. You
Yeah.
circle it. It's by far the best stop. So
How do the athletes look at it? What's their?
I mean, I think that they always look at it that it's certainly going to be challenging,
Yes.
and then it seems, especially in recent years, they make it even more challenging. Like I say, if you didn't do anything to the course and you just set it up,
Right.
it would still be really hard.
Right.
But then Nat'll add in like those monster moguls or kind of whatever else, and like this last year, I know that top air landing was like incredibly steep, and so there's always just challenges for sure. But I think that's also what makes it so special. You got the lights, you got the crowd there, the spectators are just insane, excited to watch some mogul skiing action.
It's interesting that you mention that, because my view is I think it's hard enough.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard enough. Yeah.
I don't think you have to add the monster moguls.
Yes.
I don't think you have to make an effort to make it trickier, or put in a tight section, or those monster moguls always intrigued me. Those have come up the last couple of years, but as I look at it, from an athlete's point of view, I really think it's hard enough.
Oh yeah, it definitely has its challenges. So adding in a couple more, I mean, it definitely makes for a tricky event. That's for sure.
I really admire the athletes who are performing so well on that, and really doing an amazing job. And I can't tell you the number of mornings that I get up and go to Champion, and I'm very thankful that I'm retired.
Definitely, there are some of those days there. Yeah, I mean, I remember as a competitor, as an athlete, just like man, we got to train this today.
Right.
This is what we're going down. All right,
Right.
but it sets you. It makes you ready for any other course, though. Really does set you up to be able to ski kind of anything.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because my team that I've been running here in Utah, Wasatch Freestyle, has been very successful for the last number of years. And people have asked me, what do you attribute this success to athletically? And a good bit of it, I think, is when we get a chance to train and compete on Champion. Right. I think that aids the athlete a lot.
No, absolutely.
And I think that contributes to some of the results that have been fortunate enough to get.
Yeah. So. Well, I mean, this last year alone, you had what, six skiers from Wasatch, 3 boys, 3 girls, get World Cup starts. 20 podiums at FIS. 3 boys, 3 girls get named to the National Development Group. I mean, it's been that's just this past season,
right,
let alone the past few. I mean, won Club of the Year 3 times. You've had Brian Wilson, who's now the head coach for the U.S. team, Olympic medalist. Brad, his brother, also is the head coach for Wasatch Freestyle, coach for the U.S. team, multiple Olympians. Pat Deneen, the last, at least on the men's side, the last U.S. world champion, or world champion from the U.S. So there's been like crazy amount of success over the years with the program. I mean, it's fun to, especially a lot of those kids that like I grew up with, right, and competed against and everything else, and it's amazing to watch the success, especially recently. I mean, not even talking about Brian or Brad, but you got Nick Page, who, I remember holding his water ramp jacket when he was like 7 years old at the water ramps, like letting him go with that. He had the Captain America helmet. And Cole, I mean, you've had so many kids that get to go up through the program, start out as little like mogul monsters, and then you see the growth, and they're skiing under the lights at Champion. It's super cool, super unique.
Yeah, or a guy like yourself, that went on from being a successful competitor to a very, very successful and productive World Cup coach, or you have an individual like Madison Hogg, who's now working for the US Ski Team in a very integral role. These Brian Wilson, as you mentioned, who I was very fortunate to work with and a good friend of mine, is doing a great job as head coach of the US team, and his brother Bradley. So it's nice to see these people come out of Wasatch like yourself and give back to the sport, get involved with the sport, and be successful with that. Much of the success that we've experienced in the last year or two is very attributable also to our present head coach, Emerson Smith, who is a 2018 US Mogul Olympian. Emerson's doing a tremendous job currently with our team. He has a large team, some very, very talented athletes. And you just mentioned his record from last season, which was how many FIS podiums?
20.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was there for most of that. But this guy Emerson, he's doing a great job. So yeah, we're going to keep this going in a positive direction. And one of the things too that's helped us over the years to get results like this and produce people like this is we really are trying to really push the sportsmanship. We're based in Park City, and Park City is really an entitled community. And I'm not really about developing athletes who are entitled people. I'm about developing athletes that become really good citizens and contribute. And this has been a big part of what we do. Mm-hmm. And absolutely. And I think this is important to remember, because it's a key part of our success going forward.
Right.
In other words, we insist that the young people, kind of have to act in a certain way that really is respectful to the sport and the people they work with. I mean, when you look at a company like Deer Valley or Snowbird, Deer Valley puts so much into this World Cup and so much into this sport, and when you show up on that property, there's a way that you have to act. And we insist on that. And that's important to who we are. And it's also a big reason for why we've developed what we've developed. And some of the numbers that you've just talked about, this is the reason why.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. I mean, that was always, spending my time in the program was always that way, for sure. I mean, it was try to, not only for what you achieve on the hill, but for the rest of your life, like trying to build some of those characteristics, integrity, and strong values that you would use later on in your life, not just in the moment, which I think, especially nowadays, it's so easy to get caught up in the short term of, okay, like this is skiing, it's the end all be all, and then there's a lot of runway after you get done skiing. There's a lot of life you kind of got to go through.
And some of those skills help, right?
Right. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. 1,000%.
I was just talking to one of our young people who went on to become a doctor, and I said, was there anything with your time with Wasatch Freestyle and your competing during your lifetime that helped with what you're doing now? And he said, yeah, time management.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, fantastic.
No, definitely. So going back just a little bit, what was that first kind of opportunity to work with the ski team and Goody back, kind of be the assistant through there, help him kind of through that as freestyle's kind of still in a big growth kind of period and everything else, right? It's just had its first Olympics and kind of you're trying to build your own program and everything else. What was that like to get to work with some of the guys that you had put on that team, but then also some different athletes at Hood and everything else?
Wow. Yeah, I was Jeff Good's a tremendous individual and a tremendous sportsman, and had some background also as a top-level soccer coach and some other things. And the team that he had in the 90s was incredible, and I think he just needed a hand because he was carrying, probably about 28, 25 athletes anyway on this big team. Mm-hmm. And he needed help, and I was a young man then, and I could help shovel and throw salt and video and drive back and forth to the airport, and I was more than happy to help. And you're very correct though, because on that team, in addition to Donna Weinbrecht being a gold medalist, by the end of the 90s, Johnny Mosley is a gold medalist. You have Liz McIntyre, a silver medalist. You have Ann Battelle, multi-time world champion. Her career was stellar. And you have all these individuals on the team, a lot of people from different backgrounds. As you said, some real characters coming out of Utah. And we are all, they're living together, training together, working together. And if nothing else, it taught me some really good people skills and some really good, I learned some really good things about where the focus of champion athletes needs to be, what has to happen there, and how those careers have to be navigated and managed. And I learned a great deal from working with all of those athletes, and I thank them all for working with me and their tolerance for me. And then going forward, Goody left after 98, and I started working with Donnie St. Pierre, who became the new head coach of the U.S. team, and Liz McIntyre, who was a 94 women's mogul medalist at the Lillehammer Olympics. And Liz is a Dartmouth graduate, very intelligent person, and I learned a great deal from working with her, and was, again, not a full-time coach. I was on for summer camps, North American World Cups.
Sure.
And so that was a tremendous experience I had as a coach. And again, I don't think it was anything stellar that I was doing. I'd produced some athletes who are doing quite well, and these coaches simply needed a hand during the summer, and I was very enthusiastic to lend a hand. And I got a tremendous amount out of it because there's not really a school that you can go to.
Right.
Says, how do I become an F.I.S. coach? Or, I went to college and studied behavioral science, and that helps, but there's still, a lot to learn here.
Right.
And I was very fortunate to work with these people that were really excelling. I mean, you look at the teams that were produced in the 90s, and my gosh, they're, all the medals in the Olympics. There were, of course, 3 Olympics during the 90s because they staggered at one point, and very successful teams at that time, and very, very successful athletes. I remember you had Michelle Rourke on recently, and I mentioned Ann Battelle, and earlier, of course, and so many of these athletes contributed so much to our sport. Jim Moran was a real character to work with. He, of course, invented the Heli X, and
Right.
I could go on, but of course, I'd forget somebody. But what a great experience! It was a very, as I talk to Goody about it now, Jeff Good, it was a very important, very integral time in our sport, the 90s.
Yeah.
And well, it was our first Olympics.
Sure.
Experience, and it was really going through some changes, and very, very important time, and really glad I was there, that I could be part of that. But going forward, we've got some great things to look forward to too. So
Yeah.
it's it's nice to take the past and say, yeah, that was great, what can I learn from that? But
Sure.
we've got to take that and move this whole thing forward in a positive direction, and we have the ways and means to do that. So I'm pretty psyched about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about 2002 and being the head coach for Great Britain. As we're moving things kind of forward and up, you have your time with the being the assistant, helping out with the ski team in summer, some of that stuff, and you're also growing the nonprofit Wasatch Freestyle into the monster it is today. But going to 2002 as the head coach for Great Britain, I mean, that had to be quite the unbelievable experience on, as you say, the home court, like champion. I mean, what was kind of that whole few weeks like for you?
Yeah, what an experience. Wow. Kind of an accident that had happened. And as a Utahn, because I've lived here 45 years now, so I consider myself a Utahn at this point, what a great experience for our state. I mean, when I moved here, people were like, where are you going, and what's that about, and how many wives are you going to have? And
Right.
there's a great misconception of our state and its culture and so forth. And the Olympics really brought Utah into the new century.
Right.
Also is an important time in our country in that we just experienced 9/11,
right.
a tragic event. And our country, the world needed something positive. And the 2002 Olympics gave the world that positive experience that we all needed. And the security, of course, had to be amazing.
Yeah.
And the whole operation, it was. But it was really, really something to take part in as far as my own experience and the athletic experience. Kind of an accident, as I mentioned, in that I had a young lady who was grown up on my team, who had moved to Utah when she was about 4th grade from England. And we were doing the typical things that one does as a developing mogul skier, and going to junior nationals and going to nationals, and so NORAM and so forth. And all of a sudden it's like, wait, where you got a British passport? And we saw this opportunity, and she did qualify for the Olympics, which is you can't just be from a country and
Right, you get
show
to go.
up and you have to have enough F.I.S. points and so forth. So I went and coached her, and she had another teammate there who was a lass from Scotland who was great, and I got to be part of that British thing. And it was definitely different in that in Britain it's not a skiing nation, it's not a mountain nation, and skiing's a more of a novelty sport. But I was very comfortable with this athlete, and at the time her grandmother was at home in England, dying on her deathbed, and it was such a great experience for her to watch her granddaughter on TV, of course, representing her home nation. So personally, it was a fantastic experience. And the athlete's name is Joanne Bromfield, and grew up to be a fantastic professional person and mother, and we're still friends. So fantastic experience. And then as an Olympic coach, you definitely learn some things going forward. And the thing about the Olympics athletically that really made an impression on me is the number of distractions for an athlete are great. And so you really, really want to have those athletes be focused on, their performance. Well, yeah, that's great, but you're not going to go to the Olympics that much, so you want to have the experience too. So
Sure.
How one balances that and how one addresses that, I think, is very, very important athletically. And I can't tell you what a difference it made in my life, in that I look at the Olympic movement now very, very positively. Mm-hmm. And having studied history, it really, since almost the dawn of time, it's been about men coming together, women coming together to really celebrate sport. Well, what a positive thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, usually you get that many people together and there's a war. So, for mankind to say, okay, let's all get together and do something positive is great. So the participation aspect of that is, just tremendous. Yeah, I know it's about winning. I get it. But there's also another aspect of the Olympics that I really like.
Sure.
And that's the fact that it's this ongoing celebration of sport.
Right.
That's internationally recognized.
Yeah.
And it's really, as human beings, it's one of the few positive things we've created.
Right, the true essence of sport, the beauty of competition, and just going out and getting to represent your country or your nation, or
absolutely.
That had to be quite the experience there. It sounds like it sounds like it was pretty unreal there.
Yeah, and the US team was done with me by 2000. They'd had enough of my act, so it was a great place for me to kind of move on to.
Sure.
But then, having that experience of taking that non-ski nation and going to the Olympics was great, and it was a really good experience for me. But as I moved on in coaching, and people came to me from other non-snow nations and wanted me to do that kind of thing, I did not take on those projects. Mm-hmm. And spent all of my time really focusing on Wasatch Freestyle Foundation and what I was building here.
Right.
Not that those projects aren't worthwhile; they certainly are, and I'm not, looking down on them in any. But it wasn't the direction I wanted to take.
Sure, you kind of check the box, scratch the itch, like, all right, now let's keep focus on growing the club and everything else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think that's been a better use of my time, quite frankly. But still, very, very glad that I had that experience to walk into the stadium and wave at all the nice people, and it was like, wow! It kind of happened as an accident. It wasn't anything I planned for. So, very worthwhile endeavor, absolutely.
And then you kind of so after that you grow from there. The program kind of really starts to roll. You have the logo, J. Bowman Kiergan, right? And you get to he's the logo. Junior national champion. So you coach Junior Worlds, right? You have Brian Wilson as well. Obviously his illustrious career.
The Junior Worlds that I coached were in Arolo, Switzerland.
Yeah.
And our men got first through fourth. And so it was a super sweep.
Yep.
And with Brian Wilson, of course, winning.
Right.
And J. Bowman Kerrigan second, and the two Disco brothers in third and fourth. And then in women's moguls, we had a second place finish. And so we did really well athletically at the F.I.S. Junior Championships. That was really, really fun. For me to go to Arolo and coach that team, and what a team. And now I understand that this year, Junior Worlds are in Arolo, Switzerland again. I believe
they're going back.
So I'm kind of looking at my staff and talking to my friend Coach Smith and saying, maybe I could go to this one, because I bet we have somebody from Wasatch that qualifies for that. So I'd like to go back to Arolo and do Junior Worlds again. I think Junior Worlds is a good event typically, and one worth pursuing. So.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's a good show of where the field is, what the future kind of looks like for the sport, and everything else. And it's nice to have a little move from that, because it was Val Malenko for like a decade.
Right.
It was there for a long time. Finally got Kazakhstan this last year. Now Rolo, move it around a little bit, which is not a bad thing. Keep the exposure on the sport. Hopefully, kind of continuing to grow. Right.
Right. And as you mentioned, you can get an athlete that does well at Junior Worlds, like a Brian Wilson, and they kind of use that as a platform to spring forward. When I went to Junior Worlds in was it 2007, I guess, and there was a young man there from Kazakhstan named Dmitry, and I was like, wow, this kid might be okay. He could probably do something.
Right.
You know? And,
Yeah.
20 years later, he's still around.
He had an illustrious career in his own right. Yeah, no, absolutely.
He really did.
Yeah,
he really did. He did quite well with it. But until Junior Worlds, nobody had ever seen this young man.
Right.
Yeah. And he used that as a springboard. So, it's a good event, and I'd like to go back if possible. And Arola is a great area. It's of course the area of Switzerland where they speak Italian, has Italian culture. They have fantastic Merlot wine, and do a great job with their venue.
Right.
And a lot of friends from around there that are into freestyle and contribute to the effort. So we'll see how that goes. And you have an exciting winter coming up too.
Oh yeah. Definitely getting ready to head down to Australia here, which would be good, and then it's all systems ahead on the Olympics. So in the season, so should be good. Training's been awesome, having a lot of fun. So no complaints on my side.
Good.
Definitely no complaints. So we touched on it a little bit earlier, but what are some of the things as the club has kind of reached this place it's at now? Like what continues to drive you in bringing the club even to higher successes than it's had over the last decades of it being around?
Well, I really love working with the young people. Mm-hmm. I do. And the young people that I'm really motivated the most to work with are the young people that are on the NORAM tour, that are going to nationals, that are just about to break on to, the next level. And some of them don't make that jump. And that's many of them, which is very understandable. It's really tough. Mm-hmm. I mean, you've got to fight like the third monkey trying to get on Noah's Ark when it started raining. It's really hard to get,
Right.
Yeah. Especially from a country like the United States that is such a strong mogul program. So what really motivates me is working with these young people to, in their attempt to get there. Some of them make it, some of them don't. But they're really, they're young, they're putting everything they have into it typically. And that I find really motivating. The other thing I find motivating is, as you alluded to earlier in our conversation, is I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of really great coaches. Mm-hmm. Of course yourself, but Brad Wilson, Brian Wilson, Rick Shaner I've worked with for 40 years or
35, 40, yeah.
Some of these, these guys have been, just fantastic to work with, and I've really, so I'm motivated to go to work with these people, Mm-hmm. And I can't think of any of the people that I work with at the F.I.S. level that it's like, I don't really want to see that guy today. So that's been fortunate for me. So that also, I've got so many friends that work with the foundation now, that I've got a great staff that has really evolved into a really highly oiled machine that works really well, and that's nice to be around. I don't spend as much time right now with the development children. When I did teach academically, I of course taught seniors in high school. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure that I never had a family of my own. And so I never raised a child in my own house, and so I'm not as comfortable working with children, but I do try to get out and ski with the children a couple of times a year. As I mentioned, my wife, Kristen, runs our weekend development program at Deer Valley. Recently, we've been doing a coach's education program, not only through United States Ski Association, but also our own in-house program that we do. And I've been really motivated to take our weekend coaches and work with them in these coaches ed sessions. That's been really fun.
Yeah.
And at first I didn't think I'd be really well received by the staff, but quite to the contrary, they've been very enthusiastic to get all kinds of information from me about skiing, ski teaching in general, and it's been a great aspect of my job. So the other thing that keeps me going is I'm not quite sure what the heck else I do.
Right.
I mean, it's a great thing to be involved with. For me.
Right.
But it's not like I'm multi-talented and I could just I'm going to switch careers and be a pilot now. That's not a good idea. So yeah, for me it's that keeps me really motivated as well. I spend a little time on vacation and I'm pretty much ready to get back to it. But there's a lot of things with it that can be very frustrating and can really try your patience. And there's a lot of different people. If I meet someone casually and they ask me what do you do, as people often do in Western culture. If you go to India, they ask you how old you are, which in our culture is offensive, but there it's normal. Here we ask you, what do you do? And people ask, what do you do? And after I explain it to them for 10 minutes, they're like, wow, that's so much fun. And I'm like, well, okay, you go meet with my accountant then. So, there's a lot going on there that really isn't, that much fun, quite frankly. Now, of course, when you talk to anyone who's been coaching for a while, they of course have, opinions about their job and so forth. And
Right.
There's a lot that goes into it. And one of common denominator is they'll always mention parents. And that's all, and yes, of course, the parents are paying for this. The parents are raising the kids. They're very important.
Right.
So there have been times when, there have been some trying times with parents. I
Sure.
would be lying to you if I said otherwise. However, I find as I mature, I'm now older than all the parents. And so as I go through my career,
Right.
my relationship with parents and how I've handled those relationships has actually improved.
Yeah.
And that's, and it has, and I've been lucky to have worked with some great parents over the years, have really contributed a lot to our foundation. And I will not sit here and say one bad word about parents. Instead, I'll thank them for the efforts that they've made
Right.
to make this possible for their children.
Yeah.
And yep, absolutely. They put a lot into it, and I really, really appreciate what their efforts have been. Great to work with almost every single one of these people. Fantastic experience, and I want to thank them for all of their efforts because it takes a community.
Sure.
I mean, we have at times we need an attorney. Well, we have a few volunteer attorneys on staff.
Right.
At times we've needed to consult with a medical person. Well, we have doctors right in our parent group that are more than happy to help and consult with the athletes. So, that's just one example. Sometimes it's a bus ride to Telluride.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
But whatever they can contribute is fantastic. So I definitely thank the parents for making all this happen, and I look forward to going forward with those relationships. But I can also see for young coaches and so forth how it can be very daunting, and absolutely, and I feel for them going forward. it's almost like you need a coach to coach the athletes, and you need a coach to coach the parents.
Right. So,
but that's okay.
Yeah.
They mean well. Our sport has definitely some intricacies, and understanding them can be a stretch. And so if they have someone to explain that to them and explain the process and so forth,
right,
that's important. So yeah.
No, absolutely. Well, the fact that you understand that, and one of the things that I always loved and appreciated in my parents as well is your passion for the not only for the sport, but your passion for teaching, and also, like, say you do an excellent job of communicating with the parents, right? That's one of those difficult things to be able to do, and be in that communication, being able to explain things so the parents understand what's going on and what the athletes are kind of expected to do, and the skills that you're teaching them are not just technical ski skills,
right,
but hopefully skills they are able to take on for the rest of their lives and everything else. And I mean, to me, that passion that you and Shaner have always had, like, I think that's part of the reason why Wasatch is such an enduring and strongest it's ever been right now at this point in time, right?
Right.
Such a strong program. You look at the coaches when you go on the website. I mean, the staff is by far the best coaching staff in the country. Just on the weekend program, you have Hall of Famers coaching little mogul monsters, former US ski team members, and then you go on to the Intermountain crew, junior national champions, Olympic medalists, Morgan, Joel, Hunter, Stearns. It's a crazy, unbelievable staff. And I think part of that comes from your passion for sport and not micromanaging, right? You kind of allow people to do their jobs, and they're trying not to make the athletes any worse or try to teach them anything that they don't need later on in life, right?
Well, if you don't want to micromanage people, it helps if you hire really good people.
Right. No, definitely. Yeah. No,
yeah, that helps a lot. Absolutely. But I really appreciate being with you here today, Robert. This is fantastic.
Yeah, this has been great, John. I really appreciate you coming on and taking the time.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Certainly. And I all of your listeners that I talked to have really enjoyed your podcasts. They've been so informative, and all of the guests that you have contributed so much to the sport, and it's been interesting for me to listen to their point of view and to their journey and how that's come together for them, and what a fantastic thing you have with in the arena. It's fantastic.
Well, I really appreciate that, John. It's great to hear coming from you, and thank you for being such a great influence, not only as an athlete, but later on in life, and a mentor to me in my coaching and everything else that I'm doing. So I really appreciate you taking the time and coming on and getting to do this.
Fantastic. Thank you.
All right. Bye, everybody.